Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from holsingersflyshop.com. Bringing you a scud pattern today. I really like fishing scuds in a couple of streams around my house here. We have a really good population of scud in them. They're spring creeks with a lot of vegetation in them, which is where the scud tend to do their best. So I do fish scud patterns a good bit, and this is a very good pattern for that, and especially using a check nymph technique because I get a lot of lead on this, so I don't put my lead on the line. With check nymphing, I put it all in the fly, and this is a good way to achieve that with a big tungsten bead and some lead. So sit back and watch the video. Alright, this is the pregnant scud pattern. You can see the bead here in the middle makes the pregnant part of the fly. So let's get into tying it here. We're tying it on a size 12 Hannock hook. We're using barbless hooks, a competition hook. And this has a real nice curve to it, gives it a good scud look. The hook we're using is an H300BL. This one is a size 12. I would tie this in anything from a 16 to a 12. You're going to have a hard time tying it smaller than a 16. And 12 is about as big as you can go on this. They don't get much bigger than that. So for video quality, we're tying it on a 12, but 14 would probably be a little bit better size. We're putting some lead on here, about 7 wraps of lead behind that bead, and that's 0.015 lead. And for the bead, we're using something new we got in at the shop here now. It's Hannock Competition Tungsten beads. This one is the 3.5mm in the orange. Really like the orange color here. It's real nice. I like these metallic beads. We carry them in 7 colors at the shop now, so you're going to be seeing some new flies coming out with some metallic heads. And I like the pink ones, are my favorite, but these orange ones are perfect for the egg of the scud here, so we're going to use it on this one. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put about 7 wraps of lead on each side of it, and that's going to hold the bead in place where we want it in the middle. And you see how I'm keeping it away from the eye a little bit, and we're actually going to tie down over the bend a good bit because the scud it's a curved insect and has a lot of curve to it, so this hook is perfect for it. I like this a little bit better even than the scud hook because it's a little bit bigger gap, and I can make it the size I want it. So I'm just going to start my thread in front of it, and then I'm going to wrap over top of the lead and cover it up, and then I'm going to, and I'm using the tungsten slotted bead on this. I'm not using the regular bead. I'm using the slotted one. That way the lead doesn't push up in the backside, and I don't have to fill in the backside of it either. So we're just going to put it in the slot. I'm going to put it here, you can see. The slot is on the top, so the big side is going to be on the bottom, hanging down. So the main part of the egg of this fly is hanging down. And then I'm just going to wrap over that bead and get behind the bead and get it where I want it there. And then we'll cover up the lead on the back side too. Alright, now we're going to go a little bit further than the lead and build a nice taper there, and then we're going to cover up all our lead. Next thing we're going to do on this is we're going to put a tail and antennas. So first we're going to put the tail on it, and for the tail I'm using a sulfur orange partridge feather. You can use just a regular partridge feather or a Brahma feather, whatever you want to use for the tail. And I'm only going to use about 8 or so fibers. And that's even a little many, but it works nice. It makes it noticeable. So we're just going to put this on there, hold it on, loose loop it, so we're sure we get it the length we want it, and I like that length. So I'm just going to wrap it down so it follows the bend of the hook there, and then we're going to just wrap it up to the front. Now I'm going to go up and I'm going to put the antennas on this, and we're just going to use the same feather to tie the antenna on here, and we're just going to get up right behind the eye of the hook, and we'll take about 7 or 8 more fibers there and do the same thing at the front end of the hook. So just pinch them off, try to keep them about the same length. It doesn't matter, they're not the same length on the real one, but try to keep them close on the live scud, I mean. And you don't want this real long either, so just out over that eye a little bit. You can see how I didn't get real drastic with it. Now we're going to come back to the tail again. And while I'm going there, I'm just, making everything nice and smooth on here and building up a little bit of body so you don't have to build up so much with dubbing. And the next thing we're going to do is put on some Scud back. And for the Scud back, we're going to use 1/8 tan Scud back. And the tan has almost an orange color to it. It's like a brown color. You can see it's really clear, but it has a little tint to it. I'm just going to cut off a piece about 1 inch, 2 inches long. And we're going to tie that on the back right by the tail. And I tend to tie this on the side. Start it on the side, and then it'll roll up on the top. So just work it back as you're tying it down. It rolls into the middle, and that's where you want it. You want it to rest on the middle of the back of the hook. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on the rib. For the rib, you can barely see it here. The rib is just a piece of 4-pound tippet. It's not real important that you get the rib. You're not going to see it real well. What it will do, though, is hold my Scud back in place. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my dubbing on. For dubbing, we're using the dark shade of Rainbow Scud dub. One thing about Scuds, they come in just many colors. I've seen underneath the same rocks, I've seen olive Scuds, gray Scuds, and orange Scuds. So I'm tying this one in an orange, and but I will definitely have some green ones, like olive colored ones, and some gray ones too. So just mix and match. See what's most prevalent in your stream. Probably gray is a little bit more prevalent, but I also like a little bit of flash, so that's why I'm going with the orange one on this one. So we're just going to dub this on, and you want it a little bit loose. You don't have to get it real tight because you're going to pick it out here in a second. And just dub up to this bead. And then once we get up to the bead, we're going to cross over, and we're going to dub on each side of the bead pretty well here. And I'll do a little bit of crossover on top of the bead with the dub, but not underneath because I want that bead to show through. So, like I said, don't get too thick because you can build up the body with your lead and your thread already. So you don't have to go real thick on your dubbing. There we go. And then we'll get back in front of it, and we're going to dub the rest of the way up the hook. Then we'll dub right up to behind your antennas there in the front. When you get to your antennas, then we're going to bring the Scud back up over. And we want to keep it centered on top. It's going to roll a little bit on you, that's fine. But pull it kind of tight and make a couple wraps. Just wrap this around a couple times, 3 or 4 times. And then I'm going to pull my Scud back over it and just make sure it gets wrapped down good and tight. So by pulling it back over top of it, it just gives you an extra layer of protection there that it's not going to come undone. Now, I'm going to make sure I have my Scud back centered on top where I want it, and it is. And I'm going to take my ribbing, and I'm going to rib the fly now. And I'm just going to space this out. Like I said, it's not real important that you rib it. This is more to hold this Scud back into place. The first one's going to be the hardest one to get lined up, because it'll roll a little bit on you. And then when you're rolling it up here, make sure you get one wrap behind the bead and one wrap in front of the bead. There we go, behind the bead. And then in front of the bead. And then we're just going to finish it off up to the front here. And then we'll tie your ribbing off. Okay, then what we need to do after we get this tied off is just whip finish it once we get that in place. Okay, we'll cut our tag off. and then whip finish. Now, you can, if you want, just stop here. You don't have to put the UV on it. I like to put the UV glue on the back just as a little bit of added protection, and it builds it up a little bit more and gives it more of a natural shape than this. I like it a little bit thicker than that. So we're going to put some UV glue, but before we do that, we're going to make sure, we're going to take our fingers, we're going to peel down over both sides so we get cleared off on the top. We don't want the dubbing fibers on the top, or they'll stick up out of the UV glue. So we're just going to trim up the edges right here. Okay. Then we're going to put a little bit of UV thick on top. Okay, a little bit much there, so we're going to take some off. Then I'm just going to cover that thin skin, or the scud back I mean, and just make it nice and smooth, and then roll it around here a little bit just so it levels out while I get my light, and then hit it with the light, and it's cured. And then that's the main part of the fly. Now we got to pick the legs out of it, and I'll just use my bodkin and get in between those ribs and pick some legs out of it to give it a little leggy look. Do the other side, and that's all to it. And there you have your pregnant scud. You can see the bead in there giving you the orange color in the middle, and pretty simple fly to tie, and it's a really good nymph that works on a lot of the streams in my area, because a lot of the streams in my area have a lot of scuds in them. We have some spring creeks and stuff with a lot of vegetation, which is key to the success of the scud. So give this fly a try. It's not that hard to tie, and it's a good check nymph pattern too. It'll get you down quick. It's a heavily weighted fly. Any of the materials you need to tie this, the hooks, the beads especially, we carry the beads in the shop now. So give us a shout out at holsingersflyshop.com for anything you need to tie it. And thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Sean Holsinger.